Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Well, it's one of the most beloved sitcoms in TV history, and this year marks the 40th anniversary of the Golden Girls. Yeah, 40 years. Well, and to celebrate this week, ABC is airing a new special looking back at the lasting impact that the Golden Girls has had on culture. Look at this.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Better than anyone I know.
I loved it. 40 years later, people still love the Golden Girls.
Dorothy, you're the smart one, and Blanche, you're the sexy one, and Sophia, you're the old one, and I'm the nice one.
Iconic, hilarious,
Revolutionary,
timeless,
breathtaking.
I have no secrets from you. My whole life is an open book. Your whole life is an open blouse.
The great Sophia. Well, one of those faces you just saw in that montage in the trailer is our guest today. He is the amazing host of the Golden Girls Deep Dive podcast. Audience, welcome back to the show, Patrick Hinds. Hi, buddy.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so thrilled that you're here. I want to ask, this is such the broad question, but I think it's applicable for an anniversary like this. Your theory on not just the appeal of the show, but the fact that 40 years later, those jokes, Patrick, every episode, those jokes are just as sharp, relevant, and good as they were in 1985. What do you think that's about?
You know, I honestly, I attribute it to like really great writing. I think like really great writing, especially comedy writing, is just timeless. They're just funny, very well acted. The timing is impeccable. Yeah, that's it. It's a pretty simple answer. It's just really good stuff.
And don't you think it is a marriage too, Patrick? You can have great words on a script, but if you marry that with the wrong people, the wrong actors, it's a much different project. I think the Golden Girls, would you not agree, is probably in modern times one of the greatest marriages of great writing and actors.
No question. And I think they benefit. I mean, one of the great things about the Golden Girls is that it was the first show to focus a show on 4 women, but 4 older women. And I think that the fact that these actresses were coming to this material sort of later in their career, they were so seasoned, they were such pros, they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew what would work. They all knew each other. Most of them knew each other. They didn't really know Estelle Getty. She was the newcomer, but they had all mostly worked with each other before. So yeah, it's that perfect marriage of great material and actresses who just absolutely knew how to handle it.
And isn't it interesting, Patrick? We were talking about this in our meeting today. I am 51, and the fact that these women were really one of the first to kind of redefine what that era meant, what women should behave according to society, what women of that age should act like. It really changed the dynamic in culture.
Completely. I mean, it was really, people were seeing women having a second or third act on TV for the first time. And of course, the biggest part of that is the sex, right? I mean, women of that age having sex, enjoying sex, having casual sex, making sex sort of like fun and flirty for women of that age. I really think that is probably the biggest thing about that show that people remember as being like the most cutting edge.
Here's another softball question, but as someone who loves things big, I know I have, my favorite show is Dallas. I have my favorite episodes. For you, my friend, because you are the historian of the Golden Girls, do you have a favorite episode and or season era of the show?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned season or era, because people talk about the later, like seasons 5 through 7 as not being as good because the creator, Susan Harris, had departed from the show at that point. I think those are my favorite episodes because they are here. The storylines are a little bit more out there. Everything is, like you were saying, everything is a little bit bigger. It's a little more over the top. That kind of stuff really is my favorite. But I will say, I always say one of my favorite episodes from the first season is the Dr. Jonathan Newman episode where Rose is dating the little person that she works with. And, they do that whole amazing dream sequence, and they do the whole thing where Blanche is like really uncomfortable, and the character Dr. Jonathan Newman is not uncomfortable. He's the most comfortable character in the scene, and that's where the comedy comes from. So I really love that episode.
Yeah, and you're not surprised. Here's the number, and it's talked about in the special on ABC and then again Disney Plus and Hulu the next day. Over 1 billion hours streamed. Think about that, Patrick.
I mean, the thing about it, I'm a podcaster, right? So we see this in what I do too. People watch these episodes over and over and over again. You have your favorite episodes, but it's also the most bingeable thing in the world. You just start, you get to the end of the series and you just start it right over again. It's also one of those shows that you want to show your favorite episodes to people, or you want to sort of like bring your friends. If they don't know the Golden Girls, or they didn't grow up watching it, you want to bring them into the fold. That number really, 1 billion feels low.
Yeah.
I feel like we should get it higher.
I think we will. When we come back, we're not done. Patrick's going to delve into 2 really dishy parts of the history of the Golden Girls. What is the most hated episode? Everyone loves it, but there is a dreaded episode that most fans hate. And what's the real story behind B. Arthur versus Betty White? That and more when we come back. Back in a moment, everybody.
Time to time, life deals you an unfriendly hand. There's nothing you can do about it. I guess there's a lesson to be learned here. Sometimes life just isn't fair, kiddo.
Great Betty White. Oh, such a good sequence. That is a classic scene from the Golden Girls celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Golden Girls podcaster Patrick Hinds is our special guest today. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the podcast. Okay, Patrick, we talked about a beloved episode in the last segment. I did not even know this. I now look, in my relationship, Colin he watches the Golden Girls every night while I watch Knots Landing. But I didn't even know this. Tell everybody about the most hated episode in the show's run.
Yeah, the most hated episode is called, it's either The Empty Nest or Empty Nest. We all kind of know it now as the episode that was meant to be the backdoor pilot for the sitcom that was supposed to become Empty Nest. And it stars Rita Moreno. And they did a poll and it gets like a 13% or something on Rotten Tomatoes. But it is like by 800% the most hated episode among the fans, because really our girls are barely in this episode. And, in recapping that episode as we did for the podcast, it is actually standalone. It's kind of an interesting story. You can see why it didn't work as a pilot. We, of course, know that they did go on to make a show called Empty Nest as a spinoff of the Golden Girls later that had almost nothing to do with this episode. But it really is not very good. It's not very funny. The ladies are barely in it. And it went nowhere. I mean, I think this is probably the episode when we were talking about the billion streams on Hulu. This is not one of them. This
brings down the average.
Exactly.
One of the things that you guys have delved into on the show is the alleged, but it's really not alleged. There's proof. There's Jessica Fletcher investigative proof that B. Arthur and Betty White weren't the closest on the cast. Is that a fair statement, Patrick?
Yeah, and as part of the podcast, we've talked to everybody. We've talked to the writers, we've talked to some of the actors, and it's pretty well known that it really is true that Betty White and B. Arthur really did not get along. I think what we've learned is that B. Arthur comes from Broadway. She took acting very seriously. She saw comedy as a science. And she kind of didn't really have a lot of respect for people who didn't do that. Now, I think there was definitely a professional respect between the two of them. I think they both knew that the other was very good at what they did. But I think that Betty White just kind of annoyed B. Arthur on a day-to-day basis. I think she thought Betty was kind of silly. And you can really see that dynamic in some of the episodes. There are moments where, Dorothy has to sort of like smack a fly off of Rose's face, and you feel like the hit might be a little harder than it might have been. Or in episodes where like Rose is gonna maybe move out, you can see that Dorothy isn't super sad about it. So like it seeps through. You really can see it a little bit in their dynamic on screen.
Again, guys, if you're a fan, you have to subscribe. Jennifer and Patrick do such a great job. Hit that subscribe button. In doing, you were already a fan. Obviously, that was the catalyst for doing the podcast, my dear friend. But in doing the podcast, my last question to you is what's a favorite thing that you've learned from interviews with like Mark Cherry or just in the process of doing the podcast? Is there something that you learned that you had no idea that really surprised you about this show?
Yeah, and it's kind of a downer. Like, talking to Stan Zimmerman, who was a writer on season 1, he was saying that we think of the Golden Girls as a very progressive show, which it was, but we think of it as a very gay-friendly show, which it was. But apparently the atmosphere on the set, at least in season 1, was not really very friendly to LGBTQ people, in the sense that the actors, of course, were, because they were all very like staunch LGBTQ allies. But Stan and his writing partner did not feel that they could be openly gay. And he tells a story about Estelle Getty sort of pulling him aside and saying, hey, I see you, I'm one of you. Not that she was gay, but just saying that she was an ally. And it's sort of, being a not super safe place for him to sort of feel that he could be exactly who he was. And I think that ultimately got better over the seasons, clearly when Mark Cherry joined the show. But at least that was sort of the atmosphere, very sort of Hollywood of the day.
I mean, it was 84, 85. I mean, it's not overly, sadly, not surprising. Patrick, always a pleasure. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to see you again.
I can't wait to watch the Golden Girls 40th anniversary special Tuesday on ABC. And as I said, search for the Golden Girls Deep Dive podcast wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button. We'll be right back.